The man who used to be my father gave my son, Lucas, a rock in an iPhone box for his birthday and said, "Only good boys get toys." Everyone laughed, but then it got quiet when I told Lucas to open it. Dad's voice was loud and fake as he slid the box across the table to Lucas. The whole room stared at the box, waiting for something special. Lucas was excited, his hands shaking as he peeled off the wrapping paper. "Is it really an iPhone?" he whispered, sounding amazed. "Open it and see," Dad said, smirking at me. I should have known. Lucas opened the box, his smile faded. Inside was just a dirty rock, like one you'd find on a driveway. Lucas stared at it, confused. "Is this a joke?" Dad laughed loudly. "Well, only good boys get toys, isn't that right, Lucas?" Everyone laughed, even my mom and sister, but Lucas didn't laugh. He just looked at the rock, his face red. Slowly, he pushed the box away and looked at me. I saw the hurt in his eyes. It was the same look I used to have when my dad did things like this to me. "Come on," Dad said, pretending to be kind. "It's just for fun, lighten up." "Yeah, lighten up," my sister said, nudging Lucas and laughing, though it wasn't genuine. "It's not your real present." I clenched my jaw. I knew there wasn't a real present. This was it, just a joke at Lucas's expense. "Wow," I said quietly, "you really outdid yourself this time." Dad shrugged like it was nothing. "Maybe next year he'll learn some respect. Then we'll see about the iPhone." That was the moment something inside me snapped. I looked at Lucas again, his head down, holding back tears, and I felt something building up in me. No more. I looked around at the laughing relatives, at my smug dad. They didn't know what was coming, but they would. 30 minutes later, they weren't laughing anymore. I wish I could say this was new, that my dad humiliating my child was a rare thing, but no, this was just like how he treated me when I was a kid. Growing up, he never hit me, but his words hurt more than anything. His advice was always wrapped in sarcasm, like when he'd say, "You're not as smart as your brother, but at least you try." I worked so hard to get his approval, but nothing was ever good enough. I got a scholarship, built a company, and still, he'd call me lucky instead of smart. When I had Lucas, I thought it would be different, but my dad barely noticed him, and when he did, it was always to criticize me for cuddling him too much. So when he handed Lucas the rock, something in me finally broke. "You know," I said, standing up slowly, "you act like you're the strong one, the man of the family, but really, you're just a coward in a cardigan." The room went silent. My mom gasped. My sister choked on her drink. Dad looked at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Watch your mouth," he warned. "No, you watch yours," I said, walking toward him. "You humiliated my son for a laugh. You like feeling in control, don't you?" I was joking. "No, you weren't. You do this all the time. You find someone weaker, someone who trusts you, and then you crush them with a smile." Lucas was still quiet, holding his chair. I looked at him, then turned to the room. "You all saw it, and you laughed." Silence. I smiled, but it wasn't kind. "You want to know what's really funny? I actually brought him the real iPhone. It's in the car." I let the room soak in the surprise. They gasped. I turned to my sister. "But you laughed, Julia. You laughed like it was a joke. You, the therapist, you should know better." My brother-in-law shifted, uncomfortable. My mom tried to step in. "Can we not do this now? It's Lucas's birthday." "Exactly," I snapped, "and you ruined it." I went to the car, grabbed the real iPhone, and handed it to Lucas. "This is for you, because you are a good boy. Don't let anyone, tell you otherwise." "Thanks, Dad," Lucas said, his voice cracking, and I almost lost it. Then I turned to the room. "You had your fun, now it's my turn." I pulled out an envelope from my pocket and dropped it on the table. "What's this?" Dad asked, looking at it like it might explode. "It's the updated power of attorney. You're not on it anymore." He looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the house you co-signed for but never paid a cent toward. The accounts you've been managing for Lucas's college fund. It's over, all of it. You can't just." "I can," and I did. My sister's husband looked at her, confused. "Wait, what accounts?" Julia's face turned pale. "Guess who's been taking money from the family trust behind your back?" "Be quiet, Julia," Dad said sharply. "No," I said, calm but firm. "You be quiet." The room went quiet. I wasn't done. Dad stared at the envelope. He knew what was coming. "You're making a mistake," he said through gritted teeth. "This isn't how families solve problems." "No," I said coldly. "This is how men solve problems when their families treat them like garbage." I turned to Julia. "Let's talk about that emergency withdrawal from Lucas's college fund. You told the bank you had my permission." She froze. I needed it for Ellie's therapy." "No, you needed it for your yoga retreat in Bali. I saw it on Instagram. You used my son's education money for it." Her husband jumped up from the couch. Wait, you took money from Lucas's account? $2,200. You forged my signature and the teller remembered you. You smiled the whole time. You're overreacting, Julia said, voice shaking. No, you stole from my kid. Don't pretend it was a misunderstanding. Now Mom stepped in, tears in her eyes. This is too much. No, Mom, what's too much is that Dad's been using Lucas's social security number to open credit cards since he was 5. The room went dead silent. Julia sat down. My mom stared at my dad. What is he talking about? I dropped a folder on the table. 3 credit cards, all open with Lucas's SSN. They're maxed out. Dad's face turned pale. You can't prove that. I already did. The bank was very helpful when they realized it was a minor's identity being used. Wait for the letter, you might want to clear your schedule. You raised me, he said, his voice shaking, and I trusted you. I snapped. But you used my son to save your pathetic credit score. You acted like the perfect grandfather while taking advantage of a 9-year-old. Mom sat down, shocked. You've gone too far. No, I said, my voice firm. You all did. Years of being the joke at family dinners. Years of being told I wasn't as smart as Julia or as charming as Dad. I paid for gifts you took credit for, helped cover tuition for a niece who called me boring behind my back, and paid your property taxes just so you could go on cruises. I turned to everyone. I did all of this not because you deserved it, but because I hoped you'd finally see me, see Lucas, and think he's better than we were, but instead, you pulled him into the same toxic mess I grew up in. That's when Dad snapped. You selfish, bitter little man, you want to destroy this family over a stupid rock in a box. I laughed, not in a funny way, but more like an animal. No, I'm destroying the illusion. This family was broken a long time ago. I'm just showing you what's left. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing now? Mom asked, sounding panicked. Sending a copy of this to the lawyer I hired last week. And I'm CCing the fraud department at the bank. Oh, and Child Protective Services, in case anyone needs to look into why my kid's identity was used without my permission. Julia jumped up. You're insane. I looked right at her. No, I'm just done. Lucas stood next to me, holding the real iPhone I'd bought for him, still in its box. He reached up and took my hand. Can we go, Dad? His voice was calm, his trust in me so clear. I nearly broke. I nodded. As we walked to the door, Dad's voice called out, desperate. If you walk out of here, don't come back. I stopped and turned around. You already made that choice when you laughed at my son. I looked at everyone, Julia, her husband, my mom. I'm not your punching bag. I'm not your backup wallet, and I'm not your scapegoat. I'm his father, and that's the only title I care about. Then we left. The door slammed shut behind us. I'm sure the silence in that house still echoes, but outside, in the cold driveway, Lucas looked up at me and said something I'll never forget. I'm glad you're my dad. The fallout started the next morning. My sister texted me, you went too far. Dad's furious. Mom hasn't stopped crying. I didn't reply. By noon, I got an email from the fraud department. They were investigating. By 3 p.m., I got a call from Detective Amanda Ross from the Financial Crimes Division. She wanted to schedule an official statement regarding the identity theft of my son. They thought I'd back down. They thought I'd let it go. But I wasn't swallowing the pain anymore. I was turning it into something they couldn't ignore. In 48 hours, I filed a police report, sent every piece of evidence I had, including the forged withdrawal from Lucas's college fund, and the footage of the birthday party where my father humiliated him. They laughed at a child. They stole from him. And now, we were going to court. For about a week, there was silence from my family. Then Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was frantic, her words tumbling out. Honey, please, let's fix this within the family. Your father's not well. Julia's a mess. Please, just come over and talk. I didn't even finish listening. The next Sunday, I received a letter from my father's lawyer. They were threatening to sue for defamation. The audacity almost made me laugh. You can't defame someone who gave his grandson a rock and told him he wasn't good enough. I called my lawyer. Let them try, she said. We have enough evidence to crush them in court. The trial was set for mid-June, civil court, fraud, identity theft, misuse of a minor's information. But I wasn't just after justice. I wanted the truth to be heard in public. The first day of court was packed. Julia looked like a ghost. Dad showed up in his best blazer, still trying to control the story. Mom wore sunglasses inside, putting on a show. Their lawyer tried to spin it as a family misunderstanding. Mr. Turner, he asked with a smile, don't you think this has gone too far? I leaned forward, my voice calm and cold. My son's name and future were used as currency by people who laughed in his face. You're right. It has gone too far. That's why I'm here. The judge nodded. Let's proceed. And we did. Day 2, my lawyer showed the financial evidence. Day 3, the banker who handled the forged withdrawal testified. Day 4, surveillance footage showed Julia entering the bank, signing my name, and smiling. She tried to claim she had verbal permission, but I had audio recordings to prove otherwise. She folded on the stand, trying to cry. The judge wasn't moved. Then came Dad's turn. Under oath, they asked, "Did you open credit cards using your grandson's information?" He hesitated. "I don't recall." Wrong answer. The bank had confirmed his phone number was used during the verification calls. His signature matched his address. And then I dropped the bomb, a voicemail he left me just 3 weeks earlier. "It's just some cards, for God's sake. He's a kid. He's not going to use the credit. What's the big deal?" The courtroom went silent. Even my mother looked like she wanted to disappear. The final ruling, Julia was ordered to pay $2,200 to Lucas's college fund, plus fines. Dad was fined, under investigation for elder fraud and identity theft, and the case was sent to the DA. I was awarded $25,000 in damages. But more importantly, Lucas's credit was sealed. He was safe. And the courtroom saw who my family really was. As we left the courthouse, Julia chased me down the steps. "You've destroyed this family," she hissed. "Do you realize what you've done?" I turned to her, calm. "No. You destroyed it. I just exposed the wreckage." She didn't respond. She just stood there blinking. Lucas looked up at me. "Are we done, Dad?" I smiled. "Almost. Just one more thing." That night, I took him to the Apple store. He picked out his own AirPods and case. "It's not about the stuff," he said as we left. "I know," I said, putting my arm around him. "It's about respect." A week later, I got a call from my mom. "Your father's had a heart attack. He needs a procedure. The court took too much. We can't afford it. He's asking for you." "For Lucas." I said nothing. She whispered, "He regrets it. Please, just come see him." I hung up and didn't go. A few days later, I got a letter from my aunt, with a clipping from the local paper. Richard Turner hospitalized after cardiac complications. Family struggling after recent legal issues. Below was a GoFundMe link. Goal, $40,000. Raised, $3,200. Top comment, "Hope the son finds it in his heart to forgive." Pathetic. A week later, another call. Unknown number. My father. "Hey, son," his voice was frail. "I don't sleep anymore. I think about it. About the rock. The way I looked in Lucas's eyes. I thought I was being funny. Turns out I was being cruel. Just like I've always been." Silence. "I don't deserve forgiveness, but if you ever showed up, maybe I still have a chance." I took a deep breath. Lucas had made a custom phone case at school. "It says, 'Only good boys get toys.'" "That's good," I said. I asked him what it meant. He said, "It means bad grandpas don't have grandsons anymore." Click. I didn't call back. A week later, I found myself in the old neighborhood, standing across from the strip mall where Lucas's birthday prank had happened. I saw them, my family, what was left of it. Dad in a wheelchair, Mom beside him, Julia handing out flyers, "Help Richard Turner. Family matters most." I watched from across the parking lot. Julia saw me first. She smiled, then jogged over. "You came. I knew you weren't as cold as you pretended." I said nothing. "We were wrong, all of us. But we're still family." "No," I said. "We were a cult, where love was conditional and money was currency. And now, the God you worshipped, status, control, image, has failed." She blinked, stunned. "This isn't about money," she said. "Then why does your flyer have a QR code and not an apology?" She flinched. I turned around and walked to the car. Lucas was in the passenger seat, watching. Julia waved at him. He didn't wave back. He didn't even blink. Just stared at her like she was a stranger. That was when I realized Lucas had learned faster than I ever did. We drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Dad trying to stand, reaching out like he could pull me back. But I was already gone. Later that night, Lucas and I sat together, eating popcorn and watching a movie. "Do you miss them?" I asked. He thought for a moment. "I miss who they could have been," he said, "but I'm glad I've got you." I swallowed hard, his head resting on my shoulder. For the first time, I wasn't the disappointment. I wasn't the failure. I wasn't the loser. I was the dad who showed up, who said enough, who broke the cycle. I didn't lose my family. I built a new one.